Hello, this is David Emmons, also known as betudontbet on most sites. I will be making videos for tournamentpokeredge.com for this foreseeable future. I'm going to start today with a pretty much full day multi-table video. I'm going to play mostly on stars. I'm going to add in the 200 on party poker and the $162 Grand Prix on Poker Logo throughout the day. We're going to try to keep it around 4 tables. I've made one video previously. I thought it was pretty decent and funny, but there was definitely some distractions. I had a friend over here grinding and his girlfriend was here, and I was kind of also just trying it out, and there's some cool hands, and maybe it'll be produced later when we're all in, playing in Vegas or something, and there's not people to make videos. But I'm gonna give it a try again today and go for a little more professionalism and clarity, and try to basically just learn from my first. This guy 3x's. I'm gonna make a small 3-bet. I'm glad my HUD stats came up. And so I'm mentioning that just to say that, to remind myself that I can go over a lot of the same things. That video is in the trash bin, and just to tell y'all where I'm coming from. I'm sure I've played with a lot of you, and this site is all about online tournament poker and live little, I guess. But so that's what I'm going to bring you today. I tried to think of a schedule for this morning, Saturday morning of April the 14th. Yesterday was Friday the 13th. Tomorrow will be the 1-year anniversary of Black Friday. Total D. I moved out here to Mexico after Las Vegas, or is that true? Yeah, I guess I don't know. Yeah, I guess I came here after the World Series last year, more or less. So here's one of the world's best scammies, and actually another one, pretty good player, Scott Clements. So that's a good start to have at your 22 rebuy action hour. I do enjoy this tournament. I don't play it every day because it takes a lot of attention to go deep in it. I mean, you play shallow stack for the first hour in the action hour tourney, and then after the first hour, the blinds go back down to 40-80. So everybody just has a ton of chips. It's fling around, and then it's a 6 max, and it pays decently, like 3,500 or so on your average day, on your average weekday to the winner. But for the attention that it takes, I don't know. It's also a thing I have, like 6 max stands out to me, and I always give it extra attention no matter what the buy-in is. So, maybe I'll be playing too tight at some 9 max tables whenever I play this tourney. It's kind of the impression I've gotten, which may or may not be true. So I've exchanged it with the 33 by 9 max, which is a tournament that you can just final table on accident every day because people are so bad. Let's see. Man, there's literally an infinite amount of directions that we could go. As we talk throughout the day, I don't have a plan really. I have one road stop that I want to make at hold'emresources.net, a website with no particular time of arrival there. Alright, let's go with this in the 100R against 99 never loses on a short stack. Looks like we got tarped. Let's see if 99 ever loses. 99 never loses. Alright, so that would have been más mejor for el video. But no worries. We got a full day of poker ahead of us. And the number one thing that I'm probably even capable of teaching is attitude. I remember when I was learning the game from card runners videos, really, before I ever played for any significant amount of money. I my roommate had a crappy laptop. We shared a back house to a house in Austin, and I would wait. I worked at a golf course, and I would wait for card runners video to come out every day, and then watch it twice. And I learned a ton, mostly from Taylor Cabby, and then from the pros he hired over the years. Just gonna show on how Freck here. He opens very wide. You know, he added on Stinger, then Action Jeff, and then Hastings. And I got into cash for a few years, so it was very, very useful to me. But it was not as much any particular ultimatum or spot. Sure, there's plenty of that. I think when X occurs, Y is probably true. You know, there's a lot of instances of cause and effect in poker. But the main thing that I got from those guys, especially Cabby and Stinger, was an outlook or an attitude that they brought. And I think the biggest thing to be taught is that, or to be learned, because it is learned. Part of it is your natural mentality. Your DNA. You're born. You know, there's a fine line to walk because you want to be competitive, of course. But you just can't tilt. You just can't. It's unacceptable. Tilt is any form of anger while playing the game of poker. That's how I define it. Anger is a sorry, one sec. Turn that up. I like to hear the beeps, even if you guys can't. Hopefully, hear them too loudly. All right. Anger is evolutionarily designed to lower IQ in times of battle, in times of flight or fight. You don't need to actually, think over your situation very heavily whenever you're angry, according to evolution. You just need to act brashly. You need to act with balls. You need to forget your fears. That's what anger is designed to do. So that when necessary, your tribe can run up the hill at the other tribe with spears, even though they're throwing spears down at you, and many of you will die. You're angry, so you're able to overwhelm them. That's the design of it. That is not what we want in poker whatsoever. It's totally a game for logic and deduction. So if there's one thing I can teach, and you'll see, and I'm not faking it, just you just never get mad. And there's arguments and counter arguments, and there's good players that tilt hard. There's people with a lot more money than me that tilt a lot harder. But I feel like, from my personal vantage point, whatever success I've had has been in large part due to staying chill. And no, I'm not talking about any specific hand up here or anything. That just it was the first hand that I lost on video that I wish I had won, and that always invokes a small bit of emotion. But if you can be aware of that, keep it in check, then you'll be much better off. So, as I said, today is Saturday. We're going to be getting a good full Saturday high stakes MTT schedule with 4 to 6 tables at all times. Currently have the 22 rebuy action hour, which we just discussed, 100 rebuy on Poker Stars, and the morning one, 54 knockout in the morning, the big 109. I was at Zachatek's table. I guess I got moved, and the 320. So it's a standard Saturday morning. I've been playing about an hour, and as you can see, haven't really accumulated much of anything. This is not Vinky as I thought it was for a second. I can defend this. And my first instinct's to check jam, because we're still rebuying bit spewy and rebuy periods. I don't know why. I love to gamble and bluff and three barrel. I try not to, just stick it all in pre. It's clearly bad, but I amp my bluffing and chasing frequencies way up. And I'm trying to get that to a more optimal level because, I do spend more than your average jack in your average rebuy period. I'm in for the minimum in the 100R. Got it up to like 9, but then got ace king versus aces and kings. But I also come out with a lot of chip leads and a lot of big stacks that allow me to go deep in tourneys. Like, I don't know, 55 rebound stars. I seem to be able to play really aggressively in the first hour with that and come out, in the top 10 chips with 13K or more. I don't know, every other day or something like that, and lots of chips sometimes. So there's definitely an ebb and a flow there. I think it's a strength, and then some of my friends would say it's like one of my biggest leaks. But I can see how both are true. So as we go, and I have no idea. I've never done this before, besides my one try a few days ago, which takes so long to upload. Still uploading. But after watching the first video, I realized I need to redo it with no one over. Yeah, my game is far from perfect. So I have a lot to learn. I don't know how many people are going to be watching this. If it's going to be 20, 100, 200, or 1,000. I really don't know. So we're just going to keep betting here against Setherson. I obviously have the best hand. And just hope he's slow playing a set or kings. Not really sure exactly what he would flip flop with. I could see Jack 10 suited. So low rolling has Jack 10 of hearts and he raise gets it in here. I'm going to say he did not have Jack 10 of hearts. I'm going to use my Pirate's deduction. He didn't have Queen X, he probably had 6-6. This is his most likely holding 5s or 6s. Maybe 8s. Yeah, probably some pair. Ace king suited in the 22 rebuy. Obviously snapping out. Where's the real grinder? That's what we used to call him, me and my roommate. So we use things like HUDs, and let me mix this. See, my HUD is fairly simple. Hands, name, VPIP, preflop raise, aggression factor, and 3-bet percentage. I need to read an article on aggression factor because I know what a high one is and what a low one is, and the numbers tell me more than anything, but man, I don't use it that much, and I really need to read more about the maths behind it. It's interesting at the very least, and more than likely would help. I need to figure out how relevant it really is anyway. How correlatory over how many hands, stuff like that. Alright, so you can see my HUD. Pretty simple. I use Hold Manager too. I usually remember to use it the first time I need it in the day. Somebody's opening and I have 14 bigs, almost in the money, and ace 10 suited, and I'm just like, oh, I wish I knew if they were loose. So I would know what to do. Yeah, they're very useful, the HUDs. So here we're still in the rebuy period. Make a wheel. Earthy tones. And I'm going to try to, I usually play a few, I usually play 8 to 12 tables throughout the day. Kind of tight full there. He's tight. But I'm going to try to keep it lower today and keep minimal tables off screen. And if I do get a fun pot and an off screen table, then I'll bring it on. Because this area represents maybe a quarter of my monitor of 30-inch. And so that's a tiny bit tedious. But no big deal, and I feel like I shouldn't even be complaining about it because I complained at it in my quote-unquote first video, but this is my first video as far as your reality is concerned. So we're going to go over Nash stuff again, like I said, on Hold'em Resources. I've talked to Diego some about that. It sounds like that would be the most immediately useful thing to be taught. I'm going to wait until we get a spot where I'm not sure, and then do that. So who am I? I'll put a picture up there so you can have a face with the name. It's me, that's my city, Cabo, up on the mountain where we live. All my roommates are gone doing live poker stuff right now. I'm going to Miami on Monday for the WPT and to see my grandma. I remember this guy. He's very loose. He's fun to play with deep. He will play every hand very aggressively. And there's plenty of guys like that, but then most of them don't grind that often. And he doesn't grind that often, but I used to see him more. And hopefully he wins this so we can see him even more. Alright, so Hold'em Resources. Here's the site. If you're not familiar with it, like highly familiar with it, then you need to go ahead and go there. Click on that, click on Sit and Go, click on Nash. And I'll do the same. Calculate in your hand. Alright, so could talk something about it now. What is Nash? Yeah, we'll play this hand. We'll talk about it when our first push hold spots come up. To be more relevant. 3-bet this guy. You know, deep in the MTT, there's a big difference. He wouldn't be 3xing in the first place, I'm sure. I mean, I never really 3x personally, but I don't think it's bad for him to do it from this spot with us being as deep as we are on the table with no ante. I'd still rather 2.5 in his seat. So now we just bet, obviously. If he has an ace, we get a lot of bets in. If he doesn't, we don't. No worries. That's why we want to be able to have some non-hands there too. I want to have Jack 10 there occasionally. I'm probably overly. My background is heads up cash. It's basically all I played for a few years, and so a lot of my thought processes are geared towards not trusting people post flop, trusting people too much pre flop. Now these have changed over the last 2 years, but in the beginning of switching to tourneys, I never wanted to put my last chips in the tourney or bust, but I was bluffier than anyone else post flop and never believed anyone. And what were we talking about just before that? Yeah. Oh well, so it took a while. You know, I had to do a ton of Nash work and take a ton of scrutiny from a few of my kind of MTT mentors, Ape Styles and Smock Rock Flock, namely, to get more precise on short stacks. It can't be understated. So I'm glad we won that here. Though, as I said, you don't want to be glad about anything or hope for anything really. But I don't know, winning's fun. And I'm glad for the sake of the video on this, because after the rebuy hour, which is a couple minutes, we'll have a lot of chips on a lot of spots in position on two loose players. Good players also. I would jam like 75% hands there or so, but with the added incentive of a knockout, he's calling it even looser. So we can't expect him to fold very often. So the big 109, definitely one of my favorite daily tourneys. As I was mentioning, so is, or maybe I wasn't mentioning, but this is probably my very favorite daily tournament. Kind of stinks that it's so early because when I bust it, it can put me in a Debbie Downer mood. Not really, but I don't like busting it because it's awesome. I had maybe my coolest week of poker 2 weeks ago, but I won this tournament 3 times, and obviously there's a lot of luck involved in that, but it still felt good. And yeah, lots of luck. I mean, I remember a lot. This is McLean Carr, by the way. This is Telks. Couple piece. I think I'm just gonna jam this guy since he made it so big. It doesn't seem like he's folding much. No, he's not folded. Still don't think there's much wiggle room there. What did I have? 22 big ones to start the hand or something. Yeah. And he almost 3x'd it. This is my buddy who lives down the hill, Nick. This is McLean, obviously. This is some dude. Watch it. I don't know, man. I get names confused a lot. Alright, so our first kind of HUD spot. And we see this guy is 3-betting quite often. So much so that we're just going to pile this hand in immersion. It's not very many hands, but he came out, he's showing it off. That he brought out the big bat. So we're not surprised to see him 3-bet fold to us. He's trying to make chips. At the end of the rebuy period, he's trying to 3-bet and C-bet hit hands. So we're just not going to allow him that luxury by peeling there. Yeah, basically I just didn't trust him in the first place. This was not a knockout once again. Knockout adds people's incentive to call you, and it decreases the value of chips, I think, on a relative scale at the very least, because you don't get paid out as much. That money's taken out of the prize pool. You lose value throughout a knockout. Yes, I think that is true. But I mean, it would be like a bottom of the range shove otherwise, I do believe. And so here in action hours, the blinds will go back down. I'm sure most of you are familiar. Scoop's gonna have a few action hour events, so those will be fun, like a 500 rebuy action hour. That's gonna be crazy. Yeah, I'll probably end up not playing the whole first hour of that one. Try to take it easy. Because you can come in with just 7,000 at 40-80. It's almost 100 bigs. Like, all these guys are fine as long as they remember to add on. But yeah, we did run it up a little that first hour. We're going to have a lot of chips. And we're hanging on in the 100R. That's the week that I won it thrice. I never had many chips to start it. I actually woke up. Smock would wake me up right before it started. I mean right before it stopped dredging. 10 minutes before the rebuy period, and we would just lug into it. And then, it's a good structured tournament, and I would get a few good spots here or there, pick up a hand, and then before you know it, 25K and nearing the money, just running out. And then one day I had like 28,000 at the end of the rebuy. This is like 2 days ago, and I ended up bubbling it. So, you get paid in tournaments, and hopefully we'll discuss this when we go deep a few tournaments today. But you get paid for the place you finish in, and nothing else. Nothing else. This guy's not making any money right now. Now I know that chips are worth a certain amount they have value. So I'm not trying to totally neglect that, but it's more of a premise that we want to be aware of, that We're not getting paid until we get eliminated, or until everybody else is eliminated and we're the last man left. So yeah, not to get carried away with, it's a leak I have. Once I get the chip lead, it's probably sometimes deadly for me in the tournament, because if I lose it, I try to reacquire it, just because it's online poker and you can be silly and watch everybody's stack at the same time, which is really fun. But it's like leaderboard watching golf on a Saturday, and for the PGA fans out there. It does more to distract you than anything else, and when really you should just be playing your A game and not worrying about it. So I've gotten better at that over time, and I do grind hard, play almost every day. This looks like a fold at first glance. 3-betting hardly at all, not many hands. Let's see. Oh yeah, 722 hands. Sorry, I had to lean up to see that. Yeah, so it looks like a fold. No problem. This guy has been opening a little bit and kind of big sizing, but that just looks like a big hand. I think that's Wilson. Wilson, the volleyball. 7-8 off, not stick here. Suited all day, but 7-8 off is not. Yeah, so what's up with you guys? It's all about the customer, so I'm gonna be all about the comments and improvement, and figuring out what I'm doing here, because I am a novice at this, but it's something that I talk a lot of poker with friends. There's about 30 of us poker players living in Cabo, and we're obviously all, for the most part, obsessed with the game. So I talk a lot of poker with friends. I live with Smock Rock Flock, a very good player. We talk strategy nonstop, and I live near several other very good players. I'm a Luxac and Stevie and Abe Styles and Zach Morris and, like I said, Ovments and Warners. So we got a cool little setup here up in Pedregal, and I'm gonna give you guys a little. So there we are, out of the knockout, 4 tabling. Nothing wrong with that. It's always been a funny discussion that I've had ever since I first got into this game. I started talking with my parents, actually, about how many tables to play, how many is really optimal, and I know that it's different for every person, and I don't think for anyone that should be doing this game professionally that number is any less than 6. I think if you're playing heads up, it's a little different. Maybe 2 is plenty, 4 is a lot. But I'm talking about for multi-table tournaments. You want to be able to 6-table and play at least your 97% game. Nothing's going to be as good as 1-tabling and watching everything. Nothing's as good as that's the beauty of live poker. You really can get live reads, just because you're paying so much more attention and there's more relevant factors. I don't know what this guy's doing. Looks pretty fishy. And relevant factors, hopefully you'll hear me say that a lot, because that's I mean, it's repetitive or redundant to say that relevant factors are all that matter, because by definition they are all that matter. So this guy is like limping a ton. He'll be folding a lot to this. I'm just going to actually bump it up to 700 to induce calls. If I was even as weak as Ace King off, I might just jam, because I mind folds less. I think with Ace Queen suited there, or Ace King suited, I'll do this. I don't mind action. Just check down here. It's going to be Ace High versus Ace High. He's going to have like Ace 8 off. Oh, eights. Wow. Should bet river there, Scotty. He a good dude. He's what I aspire to do. Had a last longer with him in the 8 game and then busted right away in LA like a champ. So he lent folds as you might expect from his 56-22 stats. I should discuss those when I was making the raise. I just assumed that these would stick out to everybody else as much as me, even over just a few hands. I mean, sometimes I'm just gonna peel here, pretty like 100 deep, or almost exactly 100 deep. So it plays a little bit more like a cash hand. It's fairly nitty stats. I'm gonna check call this flop most of the time, assuming he puts a regular bet out there. Yes, indeedy. I'm gonna check call this turn. Min raise here. Kind of here we have a bit of murder's row, but this guy's needs to be marked by me as a fish. Got a nice easy value bet over here. Make it kind of large, hoping everything 8s through jacks are gonna call. I mean, that's not the best river for them to call on, but they still can. And don't see how you could raise really. Just expect him to fold or call most of the time. If he did raise, it's always a good thing to think about. The first and only article I ever wrote about poker was about river check raises, and just raises in general. Like if he had raised my bet there, it's not a check raise, but it's a river raise over my strong slash potentially floating line. I will be floating there. I'll have king 10 suited instead of ace queen suited. I'll float the 3-bet and I'll check call. You'll see me. Oh yeah, we'll do that today. We'll total float. We love doing that because he folds that river quite a bit. And if I want him to fold those pairs, I can I can go ahead and bet bigger and get him to fold the pairs I want him to fold instead of trying to bet. I still bet kind of big. I bet like 1440 into 2000, so it's still pretty big. 2200, but yeah, I can bet 1680 there and get. I don't know. I might look bluffier to him. It's hard to tell. But we'll talk some about that. Just trying to get in all the chips slowly against Emmons. Our hands nutted. 1100, sir. So my sexy buddy Nick was just down the road, as I was discussing. So now I start clicking feverishly in the bottom right. I'm waiting for the jam from ace 10. Doesn't come. Good boy. I'm thinking this guy's fishy too. He seems fishy nitty. So he gives me the okay. Okay. Maybe I should have just jammed. Maybe he's thinking about raise calling with like a 7, but I convinced him not to. I'm gonna call one over here with the 7s. Just absolute hand strength is pretty strong. He's c-betting everything. Like I crushed king queen, and he probably gives it up. Especially on that turn, he would give it up, I think. So I'm just gonna fold. From his bet size and everything, looks like there's a river bet coming. It's gonna be big. Calling there is like I need to be committed to the river, and I need to be against a player with a pretty heavy bluff frequency. And John was fairly aggressive, but his bluff frequency in that spot just can't be high enough for me to check call 2 streets. And there's certain spots where it's okay because they're giving up river a lot in the spot. Your hand will look strong. And that could be one where if I call that turn, I clearly have a boat. And if he's bluffing, I don't think he'll continue to bluff me very much. I think he will give up. But I don't even think he's bluffing that turn very much, assuming he was just firing a c-bet on the flop. So knowing how many streets people are going to fire on certain board textures, it's muy importante. And it's tough. It's in the moment. It's not. I can't give you a rule on it right now. It's in the moment. You know, on that, on a, I would say in general on a full house board, uh, people fire one or two way more often than three because you know they know that people don't fold boats very often. You know, there's a saying that people never fold full houses. I don't think that's, well, I know that's not true, but to a degree it is. If you have a station, they're not looking to fold a boat, even if it's on a board that has 3 6s on it after 4 cards. You know, where any jack, you know, I have like the 15th nuts there. There's 8s, 9s, 10, you know, there's any jack X. Yeah, I have, I'm behind a fair few hands there. Any 6X also, not to mention. What he has in his range. And then sizing, too, is deduction there. He bets 4 and 6. It's kind of a bomb. It's something, and it looks strong to me. Now, he could be on the level. He could just have king, queen there. And know that I would see that as strength, and know that while I do have some jack X's, I probably won't fold on that turn. I also have pairs and flush draws that I will fold, or at least flush draws and ace highs. So, I don't know. I don't mind. I felt like it was right to check fold on the turn. And I'll try to explain everything as clearly as I can. I was, you know, the guy in math class that the teacher would deduct points for not showing work every time. But somehow, you know, I would have the right answer a lot. But then they would still give you -5 and assume you cheated. No. But yeah, I'll try to give as clear explanations as I'm capable of. Sometimes I assume too much. I believe that we can set mine here for 160. Flop to pair. I don't even call one here from Southerton. I assume he'll fire like 315. Kinda, he bets. Checks. I guess jacks and queens a lot still. And he'll bet this turn with all those hands. 10s, jacks, queens, even aces. He could check back on that flop some for like pot control / max value. Since he's probably not going to get 3 calls out of me, you know, unless I had queens or jacks and I was feeling very heroic. Yeah, so he could have, I think his hand is 10s plus there, a huge percentage of the time. I don't think he has any king X's. I think he would fire those on the flop a lot. King, queen suited, or ace, king. And I think he would fire those a lot. I have pretty neat stats on him. And pre-ante, I don't think he'll be picking on me too much. I would hope not. But, you know, it's a very plastic thing, this poker game. It's always changing. So here's this guy opening again, this time 2.5. People seem to be picking on him a lot. Poor guy. And let's get a little look at the schedule from today. So if you wanted, you know, all you want is turbo help and Nash help, this first video is not really for you, but we are going to get there. So let's look a little at the schedule. Stars, lags. Big 109, we'll just min raise ace king under the gun. So we have today a turbo here, a turbo here. So here, about an hour we'll be getting hopefully lots of push fold spots. Then we got the weekly 6 max. Should be fun. I was at Kid Cardiff's table on it last week. That's the first time I attempted to make a video, but it was short-lived. I mean, I was just testing it out really then. And I did it because he popped up at my table. We both had a lot of chips. And so I thought we'd have some fun. And he did. He bluffed and showed. So that video may not air, but I will give him his I will still let y'all know that. He bluffed, and I said, show for the video, and he did. And I said on the hand, I had king queen. I raised UTG. He called. Another guy called defended from the blinds. He was UTG +1, and then he raised my c bet on like king 3-4 with 9-10, and I called. Turn completed the flush, which there's 2 clubs on the flop. Check check. River ace. Oh no, sorry. The turn was a brick, like deuce of hearts. Check check. Turn ace. River ace of clubs. So like the worst river, and I check folded, and he showed me 9-10 of spades when I said show for the video. And he played a very convincing line. It just looked like he either got there or was there. And I said, he may, there's a good chance he's trying to get me to fold a king here on this river. Like he raised flop as a bluff, then he's gonna give up. But then that river came, and he's just because he fired like 70, 800 into like 11K. That's a good bet. And I folded and he showed. So yeah, I'll give y'all the HH from that at the very minimum. Since you may not get to see it. I kind of just like barreling against this guy. People fold turn a lot. This turn like connects pretty well with this board. And he'll still fold. There you go. Yeah. People fold turn so much. Yeah, I guess it's hard not to fold turn because people struggle. Play a lot of heads up cash. You learn that's not the street to fold. If somebody 3-bets and fires flop, and you start folding turn every time they fire it, they'll pick up on that so quick and they'll win so many chips if you're going to be playing very loose on the flop, like a lot of people do, and then very tight on the turn. That's got to be the biggest exploitive weakness that I find in MTTs as a whole. And man, I fire turn a lot. I'm so thankful that other people don't, because it makes mine look more believable just on the whole. On ace high boards, firing 2 works way more often than it should. And that's like, the quote unquote worst board, because they have a pair of aces so often and they don't fold it. And there's not scare cards very much for top pair, for pair of aces. So we're going to call that. You see we've gone on break. We're going to call that part uno and stop it up. And then we will come back and resume.